Hi you guys, it's Yvonne. I thought I'd sneak in a sold video real quick. It's been a while. I always say if you want to, just go follow my eBay store, filter to solds, and you can, see for yourself. Now, you won't always see everything, but you'll see most of it. But some people like the sold videos, for me to talk about a little bit more about, what did I pay for it? Why did I get it? Why do I think it sold? So what I'm going to do is I've logged into #deal. That's my other little baby store that I had started a couple years ago, and Hannah was going to kind of run it, but she decided to do something else. And so since you can't toggle back and forth, between stores, it was just a headache. And then tax time, there's just duplicates of everything like that. So I just kind of stopped filling it up. It still has some items in it, about 20 maybe. I don't know, about 20 items in it. And every once in a while I sell one. I think I sold one this last month. So, but I'm not going to use that. I use it just as a buying. Every once in a while, there's something I want to buy, and I'm not sure how the transaction's going to go with that particular seller and that particular item. So I'll buy it more stealthily from this account in case stuff goes bad, because not to be negative or to put out, bad vibes, but the truth is the truth. Sometimes you run into people, and you get a shady deal and you have to do a return and everything just goes south, right? You don't really want them knowing your main account in case they're the type that wants to retaliate. So that's sometimes why I'll buy something out of this account, #deal. And that's why a lot of us experienced eBayers will say, have another account for buying, protect your main selling account. Anyways, let me remember, how do I do this? Okay, so let me make me a little smaller. Okay, there we go. I never know where to put me. That's too small, but whatever. I wish you could make this a little bigger, but put me up here. All right, you guys. So yeah, see, so we're in #deal. It's got a little bit of feedback. And what have I done this year in here? $71. Got plenty more I could do if I want to. Yeah, I sold something last month, so I owe $2.51. But anyways, let's go look. Sellers you follow. That's Lindy. That's my other store. Let's go there. Okay, there. Move me over. Visit store. #deals. That's me, Mile High Scene. That's my main store. And we will go look at items for sale. Okay. Items for sale. And then scroll down a little bit and do sold. So again, since I'm looking at this, not logged in so that I don't show buyer's information, is why I'm doing it this way. Because the buyer's information would be over here. There might be some things missing, but we'll see. Okay, that just sold yesterday. That little Yadro egg, Yadro egg that I bought, a couple weeks ago. I took a best offer, so a little bit less. That's going to go out today. Just some hair color that I decided not to use. It was too grayish, so I just sold it. Frank Hogan. I've got quite a few pieces of it. That was more unusual. I just added that to what I have listed, and that sold. So Frank Hogan, Southwest Art. You'll see the name clearly on the back. Let's go look at some pictures. Find a picture for you. There it is. Right there. See it? Frank Hogan, Santa Fe. So his stuff sells, or her stuff. Fran Hogan. Sorry, Fran Hogan. What is wrong with me? Okay, so remember when I bought a bunch of those storybook knit sweaters? So I've sold 3 so far. I took a best offer on this of 32. It was one of the ones that was not new with tags, but those are selling. I priced the white ones a little cheaper because I wanted them to go, because white can fade and get yellowy and just dirty. Things happen, right? A little more quickly. So I wanted those to go. And now that it's kind of getting closer to spring, or at least some parts of the country are thinking about spring, they're starting to sell. I have a bunch of these left over. Oh my gosh, you guys, these are actually vintage. These were left over from my stores in Dallas. I found some boxes of old merchandise that I hadn't sold. Most of it I sold off up in Denver, up and down the stores on Broadway in Denver. But I found a couple boxes of stuff of inventory that I hadn't sold. So I have a ton of these. So they're starting to sell $8 a piece. That's about my third one, but I couldn't believe it. Oh, I do want to look at this. Okay, there's the other storybook knit. I did take a little off of that too. You guys, let's open this one up. Hang on, bear with me. I know this is a little bit more cumbersome way of doing it. Okay, that was $5. Vintage Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers Tapestry Blanket 1995 Smithsonian Institute collab. As soon as I listed this, it's been about 8 months, I believe, 6 or 8 months. As soon as I listed it, it started getting some offers. I think the highest one was 50, and I was tempted at the 50, but I'm like, no. There are people that are serious about their train collecting and their train hobby, so I'm going to wait. Plus, this is a collab. It's vintage. It's a collab with Smithsonian Institute, which I do well with that kind of stuff. I'm going to wait. And so I did, and I finally got $80 plus the shipping. So it's just one of those tapestry blankets when I was going through looking for crochet blankets or anything cool, right? Over in the linens. So that's cool. It's really cool. I'm glad I waited. This is a picture I just add in on all my listings, okay? Just as a reminder. I just throw that in. Just my own stock photo that I made. So I'm really happy about that sale. That just went out. I'm always looking at tiki stuff because I'm familiar that there's a tiki subculture and they're very serious, and some of the mugs are collectible, can go for $200, $300, $400. I learned that, of course, Jason T. Smith on YouTube will teach us all about that. So these were just pretty common. I don't find a lot here in Colorado. These were pretty common, but not super, not super low end. Especially this one here. So I bundled them together and I did get $46 plus 15, almost 15 shipping. So that just went out. A Nakona belt and buckle. I think I took 38 on that. Somebody bought it for a gift. So I always look at belts. If you went thrifting with me the last one, you saw I took my time and we looked at belts, right? I even talked about, these Moroccan belts that they will resell, especially if they're, leather. Here's some clothing closeout that I'm using up some auctions to avoid having to jump up to the next store level. And it's just been a while. This should have sold for more. Jam's World, I don't know what, I guess it's still a thing, okay? Jam's World is still a thing. So don't let this bother you, okay? Don't let that bother you. It's just that dress, maybe because it was a size 3, it was tiny. That went to Hawaii, so that makes sense. And so I still made a couple bucks off of it. I sold some stuff I've had for a while. I was really tickled about that. So some vintage Care Bear sheets, those are still a thing. There's still a subculture for Care Bear stuff. Okay, so keep a lookout for that. That clock, if you follow me on Instagram, we have talked about that. I bought that at an antique vintage mall. So it was my first time of trying to flip from an antique mall. And I paid $15 for it. Some of you probably saw me buy it, or you saw me talk about it again as I sold it last week. And I knew that was an atomic leaning clock. I knew the name George Nelson. Some of his clocks go for $300, $400, $500. And so I snagged it. It works perfectly. It's in perfect shape. It didn't even have any scratches. Like I said, not even a fingerprint on this dome. So I put it up finally. I had it hanging up here for months. I didn't know if I wanted to sell it. I don't have an atomic piece like that, but I don't know who uses clocks anymore, but apparently some people. And so I put it up, and within like 30 hours, I started getting offers right away. Within 30 hours, it sold. I took an offer of 95, and I adjusted the listing for her. Once these other offers expired, I had to wait. You can't adjust the listing. There's a lot of things you can't do if you have offers pending, okay? So when some of the other offers expired, thank goodness they were like 8-hour offers or something. I adjusted it. I added local free pickup. So I met her at the same place where I bought it from. We didn't talk about that. Met her in the parking lot, and she loved it. She's already left me great feedback. But I'm kind of proud of that. That was my first flip from an antique vintage mall. So 15 into 95, real happy. Black label, Ralph Lauren. So this sold pretty quick after I listed it. Could take a couple dollars off. I took a best offer. I always add a little bit so I could do best offer because people like to haggle. So I'm ready for that. This is modern, but it was just beautiful. I kind of wanted to keep it, but for my vintage wall, but since it's not vintage, but it was still so beautiful. So I think I sold it for around 30-ish. I always charge shipping. A lot of Barbie magazines, still a thing. These were vintage, still a thing. So I picked them up for like, 99 cents a piece or something. So that was not bad. I've had that for a long time. I was starting to think it was a mistake because it's not a real high-end name or anything, but it was from Spain, and it was a quality leather, and it was a company called Cats. So it took a while, but it finally found its new home. Not a bad price, not a bad flip. I got this off the clearance rack at King Soopers or maybe Thrifted, but it was when I looked it up, it was discontinued. You know, I'm kind of following Jen, Thrift to Travel. She specializes in discontinued health and beauty and consumables. Some of you might know her over on her own YouTube or over on Instagram. She's got quite a following because she'll tell us almost everything. And I've made some money following her tips. So this was real cheap, and because it was discontinued, it did sell. There are ways to do this even better. Like there are some things that even get more money than that. There was another older piece, a little Snoopy blanket, but it also had a name, Lambs and Ivy. So it was a double whammy for this blanket. So somebody wanted that quick. They were going back home to Russia or something. They wanted that quick. I did sell little salt and pepper shakers that I loved, little figurals, not very much. I know this breaks some of my rule, but I just love these kind of things, so I just do it. And sometimes in the vintage, I mean, the antiques are high dollar, but in the vintage, there's not as there's more lower end vintage at the thrift stores than the higher end. I mean, I'm not saying there's not the higher end vintage, but you get what I mean. So when I'm looking for the vintage stuff, I just can't resist some of this kind of cuteness. It's fun. It's easy to ship. They're just fun. Now they're Care Bears, so I was like on a roll. I was so happy to get rid of some of that stuff. I was starting to think that maybe Care Bears wasn't still, a good thing to pick up, but it is. It is. I don't know. Things come in seasons. All lily jacket, kind of a garage jacket in a Madrid plaid. This is a pretty good name for clothing. I think they do a lot for Anthropologie too, or the Anthropologie crowd kind of likes that label as well. So I'll pick that up if it's really nice. I was really pleased about this. I think I paid $1.99 for that. Really cute. It was real heavy. What did I take for that? 36? About 36? So that was interesting. LuLaRoe. Really? I'm not even going to talk about it. Some unusual pieces that I wasn't sure, but it was new with tags. Gave it a chance out of the linen department. Super cheap at the Goodwill or the Ark. Somebody finally bought it, I think, around 30. So it didn't cost very much at all. It was a unique item, but the person knew what it was and wanted it. Love that. If you are one of my good YouTube friends. You saw when I went back after Christmas this year when everything was 99 cents. And I picked up that gingerbread fluffy wax candle from the 70s or 80s that I wanted for 99 cents. And that was another item I picked up. 99 cents, perfect condition. It turned out to be a Christmas tree stein, and it was Corzelius, Germany, numbered and signed. And that's a pretty good number, 414 out of 5,000. So I try to always put the dimensions so people kind of know whether something's big or small. And sometimes I'll hold it with that, Dr. Lori white glove too. So people can kind of tell, that it's a decent size. It's not this, it's this, So what did I get for that? About 40-ish? That was interesting. I was wondering if that would go for a Stein collector, Germany person. Some of their Steins do well, this name. Or the people that love those lit ceramic trees. I didn't know. Little soapstone trinket box. I just loved it because the horse. Usually they're like cameos or ladies or like group scenes or something. So easy on the soapstone stuff. It was only about this big, okay. Design Gifts International, pretty common name for that. So be careful. They're usually going to only sell for, $10, $15 or so. Little art glass. I can't resist a little art glass. This thing here, nobody could help me. I tried real hard. Nobody else could help me on the forums on Facebook, but I finally figured it out. It took a lot of research. Finally figured it out, listed it, it sold almost immediately. So this keyword, I wish I could remember. This is a thing. If you ever get a plate like this and you're like, okay, it's not Pennsylvania Dutch or anything, try that Handerbelt. I think it means handmade in Germany or Austrian or whatever. Austria, Bavaria, I don't know. Germany. But let's look at this real quick, you guys. Let's look at this. So I finally figured it out. This is the thing. There are lots of this kind of stuff that sell for even more money. Let me get to where I want to be there. Can you guys see that? So I finally figured out what that says. And it's that Handerbelt thing, which means handmade. This is the signature. I finally found it. Once I figured this name out, what that was, and started searching using that led me to pottery, to marks of people within that niche, so to speak. And this is two brothers. So let me see if I can go down. That's just where I added my color wheel. Hang on. That's just where I added my color wheel for them to see the beautiful color. Let me go down to where I talked about it. Signed on the bottom. Oh, I didn't put it. I had a picture, I thought, where I talked about, maybe I added it in here. Let's see. Sometimes I'll just add it in there. Okay, I didn't. I must have just dropped the ball on that. Where I talked about the brothers of that mark. But anyway, someone must have knew immediately. As soon as I finally figured it out and listed it, it sold for a decent price. I think I paid like $1.99 for that. And I learned something new. So if you ever have trouble with that kind of stuff, remember that right there. Handerbelt. Handmade. And that will help you. So there's another storybook knits. That was a cute one with the bicycles. I thought this was interesting. This an old, I don't even know how old, if it was that old. Milk jug, someone stuffed cotton in it, and it was from Lily Dairy Farms, the Denver, Colorado one. So someone wanted that. I don't think the transaction cleared, but they really wanted it. They had trouble. This is what happened. I was aggravated. They had trouble. They were a new eBayer, and they had trouble getting the payment system set up with eBay and PayPal, and they finally got frustrated and just said, can you just please cancel this for me? And under this circumstance, I canceled it because they really were having a hard time. I couldn't figure out how to help them. I'm not uncomfortable advising on that kind of stuff. So I told them to contact, eBay for help. They got frustrated and just, that's a shame. This little tiny vase, 5 inches, about like that. It was a Fenton Ellie Wright, hand painted. It's supposed to have a stopper, but it was missing. Little cruet thing. But someone still bought it for $48. It would have been worth a little bit more if it would have had the piece, the top missing. Let's talk about this. Austin sculptures. A little bit vintagey. I never fail to sell. It's usually chalkware. And it'll be collabs like from other artists, but they never fail to sell. And they're usually not too expensive because they're kind of vintagey, and most thrift stores aren't really worried about the vintage stuff too much. They're getting a little more hip to it, but mostly with the jewelry, I find. So that was pretty big. It was about 12 inches, really pretty. Now, it is chalkware and vintage, so it did have a few little nicks, nothing bad, a few little doinks. So, I have all the Sharpies, including metallics, different shades of bronzes and silvers and golds. So, it was real easy to touch that up, and you could not tell. And she just loved it. I think I settled on around 56. I bought 4 of these, you guys. It was been about, when I first started diving into vintage, so what, about 4 months ago, I bought 4 of these, let me try to say it, I'm going to murder this, Lomonosov, anyways, Russian, it's a thing. I bought 4 of them, 2 raccoons and 2 bears, and eventually they all sold. They were around $1.99 a piece, and they all sold for between $20 and $38. They're just little tiny things. They're a thing, so know that. This is one thing that wasn't thrifted. Sorry about that. These were mine from my ATV racing days. I wore these ATV ice racing. I only wore them for 2 seasons, so they were still in great shape. So little pit boots. I sold them for, I think I took 50. I just took 50 because I'm never going to wear them again. I didn't have the box. That did sell, even without this right here. And someone helped me that it was Blue Mountain Pottery. Because I'll show you. Let's look at the back because I could not figure it out. So someone helped me, and now I know, and I've been finding it. Yeah, it's from Canada, and it's called Blue Mountain Pottery. She knew exactly what it was. You know, I'm still new at this. So it's a sectional, and it didn't have the Lazy Susan, but I'm not sure what someone did with it, if replacement or what, but it was beautifully glazed. Paid $7 for it. I was okay if it didn't sell. Controversial item, but Patty Maltese cross, okay? Patty Maltese. These are the keywords you want to remember for that. How to sell something like this. $24. $1.99 into $24. These are really kind of newish, but they have that atomic retro look. But they're really kind of new. Typically, they're with bamboo, those bamboo shoots in them. But people like them for the atomic. That should have sold for more, so I don't even know what to say about that. I went ahead and blew it out in my clearance auctions. That's what I'm using my auctions for. Otherwise, everything else is buy it now with best offer. I took a chance on this. This was unique. I'm going to open this one up so we can look at it. I took $40 for it. This was really unique, you guys. I found different pieces, one at the Goodwill and some of it at the Ark. So those are 2 different thrift store chains. So I don't know. I bundled it together, and this, let me see. Let me pull. Like this one still had the tag with it and the key. Finally, somebody recognized it and wanted it. So it has a nice little, Victorian look, right? So why is it this switching? And these little tapestries, it just all kind of fit together. I don't know if it was meant to, but the 2 boxes were both Smith, if I'm saying it right. But there's, pictures with the measurements. So really interesting. I was kind of proud of that too. So, my first Limoges plate that I sold, not a real high-end one, but $1.99 to $20. Kind of pleased with that. Kind of pleased with my research and my learning on that. Things I would have previously not even paid attention to. That was fun. Okay, I took $50 or $60 on this finally because this is a vintage Hermes. silk scarf, but it was damaged. I put not perfect in the listing. I talked about what the problem was, that if someone wanted to try to save it, eventually someone did. I went ahead and took $50 or $60. Nobody was interested at $125. If it would have been in great condition, it's probably could have got about one, or probably close to 200. So I tried for 125, thinking I'll take anything over 100, 80 to 100, but that just didn't happen. It had been quite several months. Normally it doesn't take long for stuff like this to sell. So I went ahead and let someone save it, but I still made great profit. This is why I always go through the scarves. It's real easy going through the scarves. Just look for hand-rolled edges. If you're in a hurry, just look for hand-rolled edges. Michael Kors handbag. I found out the name, everything about it, all the names, all the codes and model numbers. $55. It wasn't new with tags, but it was still new. It was missing the extra shoulder strap, but I put in the listing, reminding the person how trendy it was now to go and buy a customized strap for it. And I even said you can find them for under $10 on eBay. Talked about that before. I've done it for myself. So someone finally bought that, even though mine was not perfect, but I gave a good deal on it. Jonathan Adler collab. His main lines, very, very expensive. This was just a little collab piece, a little trinket dish. Didn't pay very much. Sold it for about $12. Some more clothing blowout. I don't know why. I'm not. I think I made a mistake and this accidentally went under an auction. That's a little embarrassing. It wouldn't have sold for too much more, but it was just Indiana glass, but it still had the box. It was still new. I'm not sure what happened there. Well, okay, let's talk about this. This little tiny square plate, about like that. Okay. Just working on my ceramics. It was a little bit older, but it was still new with tags because it still had all the stickers on the back. But this is a good name too, okay? Marshall or Mart's Marshall Studios. This was earthenware with a nice thick glazing, but that's not all they do. So if you're enjoying the vintage and the pottery as well, art glass and pottery, there's a good name for you if you don't know. That was real cheap. I want to talk about this. I sold one of these. Let me find the other one. Where'd it go? There's the other one. These were new. This was not vintage stuff, but they were so detailed, so beautiful. A nice porcelain, no branding name at all. They were just so awesome. I'm like, somebody will do this. They will. And so they were around, I don't know, $4 or so. And I got a pretty good return on both of those. That sale did not complete itself. So, but I learned something. Mary Cherry Tree helped me. That little ribbon applique swirly stuff is called, I'm going to say soutache, but I'm sure there's a more elegant way to say it, okay? It's probably French or Italian, right? But that's what that stuff is called. And so shout out to Mary again for helping with that. I don't know why that's not selling. I guess because it's a small, but that's a Free People. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful velvet. Okay, here's another thing where it's a collab for Mikasa. Yeah, there it is. But Kareem Rashid, we talked about that if you follow me. But I'm talking in more detail for people who only do the what solds. There are some people who, that's all they want to do is what sold videos. This is another case where his mainline stuff, he's very hot contemporary designer. His mainline stuff is so expensive, like celebrities' houses and stuff like that. Rich people, real rich people. This was a lower end collab with Mikasa, but it was UFO white. It comes in white and black, maybe another color. So it was about 6 inches tall. You can see I'm holding it. So it did sell for $30. There's the other raccoon, $25. Oh gosh, I shouldn't even talk about this. Someone actually bought that, and then I couldn't do it. I feel bad that I listed it. I listed it high because I knew I really didn't want to let it go, but it's because of all the mermaids on it. pretty epic Jack B. Quick sweater. Oh my gosh. She was not happy. This was bad. I am not your role model right now. When I went to pack it up, I just could not do it. I canceled the sale. I have to keep it. It's my bad. I should not have listed it. I tried to see if there was another one for sale for her that she could buy off of someone else. So, look how cute it is, you guys. I just couldn't do it. I kept it. That's bad. Okay, good girl, bad girl thing. Sorry. Again, not your role model on that. Pottery Barn. Again, Pottery Barn does like Pier. Don't confuse it with like Pier 1. For some reason, Pottery Barn is the one. Sometimes World Market, sometimes Bombay, but Pottery Barn stuff, you always want to check to see if it's one of the things people are loving. So this was a real big bowl. I think really it was a dog dish, a pet dish. But you could use it for what you wanted to. But I think that's why it was so heavy. Other people marketed it as a pet dish, but I'm like, I'm not going to limit myself like that. I want this sold by before Christmas, and so it did. $45, I believe I took for that. So I always look up Pottery Barn stuff. Clover Canyon is a good name on clothes. Okay, I just blew it out. I just blew it out. But typically, you do want to look at Clover Canyon clothing, okay? Especially their dresses. They're probably going to be their Ponte dresses, especially with some cool photo print. There's another unique item that was foreign made. Yeah, let's look at this real quick. Not a lot of money, but it was cute, you guys. And stuff in the linen department, oh look, someone else has it. Stuff in the linen department just is not that expensive to buy. But the other little napkins just tucked in there. Fruit applique, and then the other napkins tucked into the placemats. It was just adorable. I don't think there was a name attached to it. Okay, that's why I didn't. But somebody finally loved it. I'm like, thank you. These sell, especially this name, Padilla. Got to be careful. They're very heavy. Luckily, I had the stacking thing with it, but these little ceramic stoneware drip glaze mugs will sell. These, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know what shape to call that. But do be careful. Make sure they're in great shape, a pretty colorway, because they are a lot to ship, and there's competition that's not as patient with their pricing, shall we say. But I priced mine at a decent fair amount and just waited, and you can see shipping was a lot. 50 or 60 I took on that. A vintage cape, very vintage British character woolen Stanley Bruce. And I added reenactment. St. John Basics. This is one of the lower ends of this St. John line, okay? It was still Santana knit, but stuff like this is not going to go for a whole lot. Not like a good dress or a suit, okay? You still want to pick it up and flip it. Loved this Barbarian. It did take a while, a little bit long too, okay? Right? But look, Oktoberfest, all that stuff you want to know. These names. Okay, I can't say those. Those help you sell things, okay? So that was really cute. I love to sell that kind of stuff. This was pretty. There's a lot of these for sale. I got a little bit more money, around 25-ish, I believe, because this one had an iridescent finish and it had a guitar on the top, okay? So it was a little prettier. Let me see if my pictures capture that, if you guys can see. So I wasn't afraid of the other listings. I don't know if it had a pearly, you can barely see it, that kind of oil slicky look. Let's get that on there. That kind of oil slicky look, seeing the guitar or violin, whatever that is, cello. So that, because it had that on it instead of just florals or birds, and it had that pearly oil slick look, iridescent, I'm like, I'm going to save this. I think I can get a little bit more than everybody else is getting. And I did. Okay, so blowing out some stuff. Not this, though. $40. Renaissance, goth, Edwardian, rocker. Okay, Velvet Poet shirt. This was a pretty good name. Eternal, New York City. Think Trip, Lip Service. They've been around since the 90s. That do this kind of rocker stuff, goth stuff, whatever all the new terms are now. Cyberpunk, I believe. But that stuff always sells. It's never a problem, okay? Never. Had lots of competition for this. I bundled it together, added that little piece, so that helped. Always look at Frank Lloyd Wright stuff. And this was part of the Guggenheim collection gift shop thing. Little tiny art glass, but it was signed, and the dichromic is good, and Robert Held, Canada. That artist is good. So $42 for that little tiny thing, and it didn't take long. Bigger pieces are going to bring bigger money. Oh, how am I going to resist Baby Dior padded hangers? They didn't sell for much, but how am I going to resist that? That was my first Tiffany piece. There's some things missing. Okay, we're getting way down here, I think, where we've already talked about this stuff. Some nice, swung glass, stretch. Technically, there's a difference between swung and stretch, but because of the way some people aren't purists and the way they search, I'm still going to put both in the title, even though a purist would be a little irritated. A nice little Murano summer sew. And it had a uranium glass layer. What did I get for that? 60 something. It wasn't very big either, you guys. That one really wasn't that big. So, really pleased with that. Tempted to keep it, but I can't keep everything. So, in a video, I told you guys that I sold that for 15. I was wrong. I sold that for more. I sold that for about 30, 28 or 30. So I was super wrong about that one. Sorry. Those are worth picking up. There's lots of competition, but they are worth picking up. All right. I think we've already covered this. I'll let you linger in case you didn't watch the last. This is from last year. There are things missing, but generally, here you go, you guys. The first time I've ever found the lady head bases. I sold both of them pretty quickly. That was fun. Harley Davidson belt, blah, blah, blah. Shearwater, remember that name. Because this was a little tiny wall sconce. And some of their stuff is really collectible. There's a whole cult following. Good money. Still loving the plush game. That was a big one. Good money, $58. Don't ignore the plush. Okay, and we'll end on a big note for last year. St. John Evening. I took it for $280, $300. It was beautiful. There's a higher end St. John. Oh, gosh. I had some good sales right before Christmas, didn't I? I love all this stuff. So there you go. I had some pretty good sales, you guys. I'll stop because I think we've already gone past when I did, we've already gone past when I did the last sold video. Anyways, there you go. For those of you who like what sold, where's the money, tell me a little bit about it. There you go. Okay, so Hannah is here. She's downstairs listing stuff. And, I got my Weeping Bright Gold Panther. Another, we call them Jaguars because Steve and I drive these little older Jaguars that we love, these little retro looking. And so we call them Jaguars, is why I like to collect them. But I've got several. Steve has the best one, the Hager black glossy one at work, like the 21, 22 inch. He has that at work in his office. And I've got a matte one downstairs. I've got a planter TV lamp, lime green one that I sniped off of eBay for like $10. I think I'm going to put that one up for sale, and because it's lime green. But anyways, I was watching George, the Antique Nomad, which if you're not following George, oh my gosh, he's growing so fast, and rightfully so. He is the absolute best on teaching us about antique stuff. I don't know where this guy came from, but I'm so glad I found him, and the rest of the reseller community of vintage and antique, they're finding him too. He's growing rapidly. And anyways, I was watching one of his videos, and he had a Weeping Bright Gold and a very rare Weeping Bright Silver. I almost died. I was one day late watching his video. I'm like, really, one day late? By the time I talked to him, he had already taken it to his show and sold the silver one immediately. Of course, Like, I can't find one anywhere, but he's going to find me one, and I get first dibs, hopefully. And a couple other people I talked to said, oh, I didn't know. And so they're keeping an eye out for me too. So I'll get one. But anyways, I got the gold one from him, and I got it. I finally checked my box, and sorry, I moved too fast. And so there we go. And so it's downstairs. I'll run down there and take a and add this clip to it or put it over on Instagram. It's so cute. It's about this big, weeping bright in gold. I couldn't stop staring at it last night. It looks great. So it's downstairs with my other ones and my little baby one. And then that big chalkware one. Some of you that follow me, you remember me getting that big chalkware one that I'm going to repaint for $12.99. I mean, it's like huge. Anyways, shout out to George for that one. I'll put up his thing somewhere. And what's really exciting about that is he says he's coming to my state to make a delivery sometime this spring, and we're going to meet up and go to an antique mall together. I'm so excited for that. That's going to be so much fun. Anyways, I better go. Something else I want to tell you guys. Oh, well, I'm going to do a live haul video later. Hannah and I are going to list some stuff, and then I'm going to do a live haul video. So I will talk to you guys later, okay? And then I'll tell you the other thing I was going to tell you. It's about a collab with the vintage YouTube reseller girls that I've been meeting. They're finally letting me in. They say it takes, 60 to 90 days for a new group or whatever to, like, embrace you. And so I've never been on that side of the reselling community, so to speak, and I didn't even know there were so many over there. A lot of them are new, though. And so I've been trying to make friends over there. I've been watching their videos and learning and trying to make friends. So finally, someone invited me from the vintage reseller YouTuber. So I'm so happy. Finally, I got an invitation to do something. So it's a little collab coming up. So I'm happy about that. I will talk to you guys later or see you on one of your videos. No, I mean literally later. I'm going to do a live haul video. Hannah's going to moderate. All right, you guys, I'm going to get something to eat, list a few things, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye. I don't remember how to end. These.